Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Anxiety Depression is Not the End. We are at episode number 21 now. Today I am going to talk about two of the most important things that are going to help you discover what you need to do to start, making those first steps. Because I know if you have anxiety and depression, one of the hardest things to do is to figure out what are the first steps that need to be taken in order to start moving forward towards that journey of healing yourself, right? I was there too. I understand what you're going through. It was really hard for me to figure out what needed to be done because I felt so lost. I felt that I had nowhere to go, and I almost gave up, right? So if you're in that position, if you have anxiety and depression right now and you're trying to figure out what you can do to start healing yourself, you came to the right video. For the past 20 episodes, I have been talking about the things that I had to, find out for myself. What are the things that I needed to do to help myself find my happiness? And, today I'm going to tell you the three top things that you are going to need to, that you're going to learn about today and that you're going to keep in mind for the upcoming, days, weeks, months for you to think about, right? Because this is going to help you move forward. If you feel like, you've been taking steps, but it doesn't feel like you're going anywhere and it feels like, you've actually taken 3 steps back every single day, this is going to change for you. When you start to change the way you think, all right, everything can be possible. The impossible, the things that you thought were impossible can become a possibility for you, all right? So the number one thing is focus. All right. Number one thing, and why I talk about focus so much is because that is when I discovered for myself that this is the only way. Because when you're going through anxiety and you have depression, there are so many things that are going on in your head. It's so overwhelming, right? You don't know where to start because it's like, again, in my previous videos, I talked about, you being in a maze, or you're walking through a dark forest, or you're in like in a fog and you don't know where to go, right? And that's pretty much where I was when I was going through that. You may be feeling that the same way as well, that there is no direction. It feels just like you are kind of secluded on this island and there's no one there that's going to come and save you, right? I'm not saying that everyone's feeling this way, but again, through my experience, this is the way that I felt, right? And the hardest thing to do was to tap into my mind to try to, even if I tried to think of something positive, it was so hard to do, right? Because my mind was constantly creating all these negative thoughts. It started creating, this a future that was very, very dark, right? And the more I kept thinking about those things, those dark things, the more every single day as I kept moving forward became my reality, right? So I can never smile. I was never happy. And I just thought it was a dead end. I was on a path that was leading me nowhere, right? And I thought that myself, anxiety and depression was the end. And that's why I make this series, because, it's not, because you have a choice every day to make changes, right? So think of your mind. If your mind is cluttered with a mess of all negativity, all right, if your mind is constantly always thinking about these thoughts, where do you think it's going to take you? Is it going to take you to somewhere positive? No, right? Because in order for things to change for you in a positive way, you have to start changing the way you think. And how are you supposed to do that when it's so tough, when you're in such a dark place that it's, all your thoughts are negative? Is to go into your mind and strengthen it, is to learn how to focus. Because what focus is going to do for you, it is going to basically help declutter that mess that's inside your mind, right? Just imagine yourself walking into a very, very messy room, right? It's very, very uncomfortable. However, if you go inside and you clean it up and you place everything in order and you mop it, you sweep it, you vacuum it, or whatever the case may be, you're gonna feel like it's home, right? It feels the difference is there. So it's gonna work the same way with your mind as well. If you can get inside your mind, right, and you can start to really, pick out those thoughts, the one that actually that are really going to help you become a better version of yourself, instead of constantly thinking about those thoughts that are kind of creating this painting for you of this dark forest, like I said earlier, that you don't want to be in, this world that you don't want to be in, you have to stop creating that for yourself, right? So, when I start to strengthen my mindset, and if you're asking, what does he mean by strengthening your mindset? I'm talking about like when you're on your phone and you're browsing through content, be very selective on what you watch, right? Don't watch the news, watch, people's success stories, or, anything that gives you that vibe where it makes you feel that, you, that you feel strong, or you want to start believing in yourself, and that there is a bright future ahead of you. Because anything you watch or you listen to sends out some sort of energy, right? So you're trying to focus on trying to watch and listen to anything that gives you that kind of vibe, right? And the more you do that, the more you're going to be strengthening up here, right? Because what you see and what you hear is going to affect to what you think, right? And if you haven't watched my earlier series, I talk about my basement story. That is basically, when I cleaned up my basement, it took me 3.5 weeks to clean it, but I spent 10 hours a day working on my basement, cleaning it. And that's when it clicked. And I said to myself, my mind started to be so clear that I stopped thinking about my negative thoughts. I stopped worrying about my future. I started to believe that I can start doing, amazing things again, right? And once your mind becomes stronger, you can do so many amazing things, right? You can start picturing, better days and brighter days, and even start telling yourself that, maybe I can heal myself from my anxiety. I can heal myself from my depression, right? So focus is number one. All right. I have a lot of videos prior to this one that talk about focus, so you can always backtrack and look at my previous episodes. Okay. But number two is should be the most important thing, but I list as focus as number one, because you need to focus first before you can actually start learning how to love yourself, which is number two. Loving yourself is absolutely like the second most, but is very, 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 very important. All right. It changed my life. It changed the way I am, who I am today compared to who I was when I was having my anxiety and depression, right? When you look at yourself in the mirror, tell yourself that you love yourself. When I was going through my anxiety and depression, I couldn't do that because I wasn't taking care of myself. I hated myself. I hated every part of myself. I just, when I looked in the mirror, I just didn't feel that it was me. I felt like I was a different person, right? And this person I was looking in the mirror wasn't getting any better. However, once I started to learn how to focus, I started to strengthen my mindset. I understood what it took to get to a level where I can start loving myself. Then I can start, looking at myself and say, you know what? I could be better than who I'm looking at right now. Everything that I challenge myself every single day, I'm working on towards being that better version of myself, right? So what is loving yourself, right? Is it telling everybody that you're the best and that, you have all these amazing things and trying to get people jealous? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. It's looking at yourself and appreciating who you are. It's being grateful for everything that you already have. It's taking care of, your eating habits, your personal hygiene, anything that involves in yourself that brings you joy, that makes you even look better, right? Cutting your hair, changing your hairstyle, changing the way you dress. It doesn't have to be expensive. As long as it's something that you put on, it could be shoes, whatever, that when you walk around, you feel happy, right? And not to the point where you're walking around trying to show off to people and making them jealous. That's not part of loving yourself. Loving yourself is all about you, right? Going out for those walks and just listening to the birds and spending time with the people that you love and care for. All those things. When I was going through my anxiety and depression, I kicked all those out the window, right? And I pretty much put myself in a situation where I felt like I was in this little corner, right, all by myself. But it doesn't have to be that way, right, for you. If you're thinking that this is anxiety and depression is taking you to this direction where you're going to live the rest of your life being alone, it doesn't have to be that way. Trust me, because I know what it's like to be in that corner and crying every single day and telling myself that my life is over. But I was wrong. I started to believe that loving yourself is so, once you start to feel that love inside, everything around you is going to be affected by it, right? So if you're in a situation where you're in a household and you're affecting everyone around you, and that can change, right? They may right now don't want to talk to you because of what you're going through right now, but that connection between you and your family, your friends, you could bond those relationships back together again, all right? But first, you have to start working on yourself, right? When you start to love yourself, everything changes. You know, your energy, your glow, everything, you're going to shine again. And when people see that that glow in you, they're going to know that something's different, right? They're going to be like, wow, I can't believe, you know, you're doing it all by yourself, and now I can see, you know, you're starting to see the light. You're starting to you're trying to find your happiness, and that is when you get to the point where you do heal yourself, you are going to tell yourself that this is the biggest accomplishment I've ever done in my life, right? And you know, I don't know what I would do if I didn't learn how to love myself, right? I could have all the focus that I want, right? And I could do amazing things, right? But you know, loving yourself is so much a part of the complete package, right? Of getting to a place where you're going to find your peace and happiness, where you're going to find that joy, right? And then number three, the third thing is determination. How determined are you to, you know, overcome this darkness of yours? How determined are you to, you know, work on yourself every single day to become that better version of yourself, right? And it's all about your willpower, right? And believing that you have that strength deep inside you to get you to a level where you can become better, that you can achieve great things, that you can, you know, just because it's dark right now, it doesn't mean that there isn't a light afterwards, right? Everything can be possible once you start to focus, once you start to love yourself, and when you are absolutely determined to make this reality of yourself, healing yourself, become, you know, your world, right? You're going to be able to see all of this because with your focus, because you're loving yourself, and because you are determined, you are going to make everything that you thought wasn't possible a possibility, a reality, right? And you know, through my journey, this is what I learned. These are the three things that help me keep myself afloat and get me to where I am today, right? So if you are listening to me right now, and before you watch this video, and you are kind of confused on where to start, but now you kind of understand what you need to do, then first of all, you know, it was probably meant to be for you to watch this video. And number two, you learned something very, very valuable today, because after you watch this video, you can start to think a little bit more clearly about where you can start taking those steps, right? Tomorrow may be a completely different day for you because of what you heard today, right? But number one, remember, is focus. The more you start to focus on, like if you start thinking about too many things, how are you supposed to, you know, start focusing so that you can just kind of pick one thing and focus and block everything away? Because that's basically the goal, is to basically focus on one or two things, right? So that none of your negative thoughts can get in the way, right? But I will definitely talk more about focus. I talked a lot about it before, but again, I am going to, you know, on my 22nd chapter, maybe a next episode, I will talk a little bit more about focus. But remember these three things, okay? Focus, loving yourself, and determination. Those are the three things, okay? So hopefully this episode helps. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Please like the video, and I will catch you next one. So take care. Bye-bye.
Are you tired of those negative thoughts? Let's get rid of them.
I say yes to life. I have faith in myself. I create my life.
I am a creative person. I have unlimited energy. I feel good. Nourish your subconscious with positivity. Just listen to Inner Tune and start changing your life, one thought at a time.